Hello, and welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I am your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, and today we are working on the Into the Fray box for the Cavalier keyword. This box contains just 3 models, the named character being Louisa Fusi, this lovely lady right here, and then 2 Rocketeers, these characters. And that's the art. As far as the renders go, we've got Louisa here on her half-track motorcycle thing, and then the Rocketeers with some absurd basing. Let's look at the sprue. There are 2 sprues. I'll explain this one later, but here's Louisa's sprue, and then these 2 are the 2 Rocketeers, so we'll look at Louisa first. Okay, so the reason bits have already been clipped out of this is that this is my second time recording this. Found out that I had a malformed bit, so just went ahead and contacted Weird. The support is great. They got me the new bits, so we're going to go ahead and put it together now. So the bits that are missing are the 2 halves of the motorcycle here. So those will be the first 2 things we glue together. Then we'll probably do the saddlebags on it, just glue all the random bits that are on the motorcycle, and then assemble Louisa, put her on top of the motorcycle, and we'll probably do the handlebars maybe like last, or the handlebars are a weird exception because there's actually a part here that you need to cut out, but we'll play it by ear. Here they are combined, F10 and F11, just the body of the motorcycle. Pretty thin, but let's move on to the saddlebags. F12 is our saddlebag that goes on the right because, as you can tell, that the gun will go along this little slot. Goes in easy. Let's turn it over. F13 is our other saddlebag, and it'll go in just as easily. Just, follow the dots. Like so. The only other, extra bit that goes on the bike is F14, which is a gun, and it just goes right on the front of the motorcycle in this hole here. And looking at the connection side of the gun, you can see what goes in that hole. Now we're going to do 1/2 of the handlebars, F6 here. You will need to cut this part here. I'm not entirely sure if you can leave the bits on it and use them to make sure that it's secured better or not. We'll find out, but just right now I'm going to cut right here and right there where I showed and see if we can put this handlebar on, which will be the right handlebar of the motorcycle. That seems to work. So we're looking at it facing from the front. You want the handlebar to be gently curving upward. That's the right angle you're going for. Let's add it to the model. And you're putting it in this hole right here. It's actually a pretty decent fit. You can see it kind of going back and up. But that's the angle you're going for. It's not that wiggly. It should fit pretty snug. Okay, we're going to do Louisa slightly differently. Let's go ahead and build her torso. So once my camera focuses, grab these 2 bits, put them together. Then we'll put this part on her head. I'm not entirely sure where this goes. I'll figure it out. I think that might be a part of the head looking at the instructions. We'll add her shoulder plus the bag. Then we'll put the legs on the motorcycle first and then glue her to the legs, doing her arm and her other arm last. I forgot to add a zoom function. Combine F1 and F2 to make the body. Next, we're going to grab F3, which is the back of her head. No, we're not grabbing F3. We are actually going to grab F4, the part that I wasn't sure where it went. Yeah, that guy right there. That is what I can best describe as the tails of her bandana, maybe, flowing in the breeze. And that's actually going to go right here. I'm going to figure out what the orientation on that is and get back to you. Oh, and this whole thing right here is pretty much one big connection point. So you want to cut right along this line, don't mess it up too much. Okay, obviously I tried fiddling with a bunch and I just like it better this way. I'm not sure if that's the proper way it's supposed to go. It looks like it'll probably fit either way, but this just looks best to me. Not a lot of detail to sort of explain the orientation, but I guess the slightly longer ribbon is on her left side. Okay, now let's jam F3, the back of the head, on there. Be very careful with bit F4. It is extremely tiny. It is going to get lost in your carpet. Just clip it out, clean it, and then get it on the head as fast as possible. There it is, all put together. It looks good to me. So let's go ahead and move on to giving her a shoulder and then some legs. I believe this is F5, the bag, and her shoulder. Just be gentle handling it. These straps are kind of thin, they can snap and bend, but obviously this big old plug here is just gonna go in her left shoulder. Here it is attached, and while it can rotate, there's only one real angle where you won't see any gaps. Like if I twist that, you'll see a gap form. So just nudge it into place or use this as a reference, or both. Weird legs butts tags. I'm gonna go ahead and do the legs next, and I figured we'd use this as a learning opportunity because I've also heard other people have had issues with this particular bit. So check your sprue when you get this box. There should be a plug, tooth, or whatever right here, like it is on this foot, and it's not on this bit. So if it's not on yours, go ahead and contact Weird. They'll send you a new bit. They love helping people, so I thought I'd share that. But let's go ahead and add F9, the right leg, and then F8, the left leg. For reference, those two teeth I was talking about are going to glue in right here and right there. Ah, never mind. I thought the connection would be more solid. It's a bit wobbly, so we'll actually glue our legs to her body first, and then put them on the motorcycle. I think that'll be slightly easier. So go ahead and add our F9, right? F9 to that lovely stump right there. Okay, let's go fast in case we need to nudge things into place, but remember, look at her position on the artwork. She is writing that thing weird, so this is actually the proper angle we're going for. Let's add F8. There's F8. Let's go ahead and jam her on that motorcycle. Let's change it up again. Let's go and put the arm on there, because I think we'll just connect her to the motorcycle at all 3 points all at once. So let's grab the rest of F6, this guy, and jam that in where the other handlebar goes. There it is attached. Now you might be like me, where once I cut it, the middle part, the part that we split it on, it's slightly deformed on this side of the arm. It'll depend on how your clippers do, but I just had to trim it up a little bit so it would jam in that hole. That's all I had to do. But let's get her on there. Yes, we will need to wiggle the arm a bit because that plug needs to go into her shoulder, but this connection is still soft. I just did it, so it shouldn't be that hard. Okay, that took some fiddling, but if you do it in the order I did, the cement at the hips isn't set yet, so it is easy enough to sort of wiggle the feet to get them into the connection points down there. I had to really mess up her right hip to get it going correctly. But I think still that is the best order to do things. Let me know if you think there's a better order. But all we have left is her right arm, which is F7, and it's just a flare gun. She's shooting up into the sky. Should be easy. There we are, F7, just sort of like the shoulder backpack situation. Just mush it on there and twist it around until you don't see a seam. But this is Louisa Fusi. That's it for Louisa Fusi. Pain points in this build. Obviously, the very, very tiny bit on the back of her head, the tails of the bandana. Very small bit. Don't lose that, please. And putting her on the motorcycle was kind of difficult just because there was no, really solid way to do it without risking of you, accidentally detaching her while putting the other pieces on. So I think doing her all at once is still the best idea. Because if you, attached her only at one leg and then you tried to put the other leg on, you'd possibly just peel her off of that connection point because there's not enough there to keep her solidly in place. So yeah, do it all at once, I think. Let's move on to the Rocketeers now. We got two Rocketeers on one sprue. We've got Rocketeer A, or Rocketeer 1, and Rocketeer B, or Rocketeer 2. Not nearly as many pieces as I was expecting, looking at the elaborate sculpt, so good job on Weird. But we'll start with A. I think we're going to grab his body, put his leg on, the string of grenades, the straps go onto his back, and then glue him to the backpack. We'll see if we put this piece on next, or the arm, but I think we need the backpack on before the arm goes on. And then we'll do the other piece. Start with A3 body, and then we will do A5, the left leg, which is put it where legs normally go. The angle you're looking for, because he's flying. His connection's really solid. Now let's go and grab that string of grenades. A6, and that's just going to go over his chest right there, that big old hole. Grenade handles are pointing down. Let's flip them over and add A4. The straps go on the back here. This is A4, and we're looking at the connection side. You can see this obvious peg here. And then this strap will go into this hole and then this groove. Sits nice and flush. Now, actually, I think we will have you combine A1 and A2, which is the backpack and the smoke trails. A1, be careful clipping it because this right here is pretty thin, so you could accidentally break it off. But A2 is just going to connect down here, the thicker part of it, and it's also going to connect up here with the backpack. Jet backpack. Alright, ain't that pretty. Now let's turn it over and add our nice gentleman to it. Isn't obvious that's what this big dumb hole is for on the back? It corresponds with this big dumb piece. Ain't that pretty. Okay, our last bit is going to be A7. It's going to connect up in here, which is sadly going to be slightly awkward, but the problem is that it contains like a thin piece, so I didn't want you adding that and accidentally snapping off later. That thin piece is going to connect to this stump right here. And the bits, this part connects to the shoulder, and this part connects to the stump on the backpack. And again, be careful clipping it out and cleaning it up because it's a relatively thin piece. There it is. That was probably too difficult. I would say that next time, or for you, put the arm on right before you attach him to the backpack. I think that'll be a little bit easier to just sort of nudge that metal piece, the shaft, I guess, and align it with the part right here, which will be easier than just trying to hook it into the shoulder. Rocketeer 1, we're going to call him Curtis. Done. Pretty easy build, with the exception being that left arm. Again, I think if you just attach it to him right before you put him on the backpack, you'll save yourself from the headache I suffered from, but look how gorgeous this thing is, and it still fits on a 30mm. Weird to really, like, redo the Iron Skaters with this kind of smoke trail basing scheme. Let's move on to the last model in the box, Rocketeer B, or 2. Sprue for Rocketeer B. Gonna build it in a similar fashion. We'll grab the body, and we'll put the torso on, and do the straps on the back, then glue each arm on first, learning from our last one, before attaching the backpack, and then gluing it all to the smoke trail. Start with B3, the body, and just a forewarning, the flash that I had to clean up here was a huge pain, so just... And I'm sorry, I mean, you're probably going to need to clean it up, and it'll be difficult for you too, but let's move on to adding the torso, which is B4. Looking at the back of B4 before we attach it, this might just be the particular sprue I got, but I had to really shave down this thing back here to get it to like set in well. Otherwise, it was a pretty big gap that I couldn't really close. So you might need to do that if you see that there's a really big gap between the front of the torso and the rest of the body. But there they are attached, and as you can see, there's not really a gap anymore, so hooray. Let's add the straps on the back like we did the last one. And just like last time, put the peg right there, in the hole, right there. Butthole. The straps will line up with the straps that is already on the back. Let's clip out everything before we move forward, just to make sure that we can be expedient with it and we don't ruin any models. But we'll grab the left arm, put it on, the right arm, put it on, and then put on the backpack. So we'll do B6, B5, and B2. And also, again, watch out because... Now's a good time, I guess, to talk about that thin bits on spruce sometimes will get snagged and bent or popped off before you even start working on them. I don't know if this was my fault when I was handling the sprue, if it just came in the box like that, but at least I have the piece. But always check your box for any floating bits. But I'll go ahead and add this on after I attach the arm and the backpack. Here is B6 attached. You might need to nudge it around with your knife to get it in the proper angle. Oops, fell a little bit. And there's B5 minus, the peats that broke out for me that you should hopefully have still attached. Let's add the backpack. This is attached from the back, and I also went ahead and implemented my fix. This actually went together pretty easily. There wasn't a whole lot of pain, like trying to attach the ends of the handlebar things, whatever, control sticks. We'll call them control sticks. But yeah, not bad. Let's add the last bit, the smoke trail, which is B1. Of course it is. Forgot to show you how it connects, but yeah, it connects where the exhaust is on the backpack. It's relatively intuitive. I'm sure you'll get it. Barely fit her in frame, but there she is. Rocketeer B. I'm going to call her Jenny. This one, easier than the last one, just because I had that idea that I would put the arm on last. But yeah, definitely doing the arms first is a good idea. Trimming down that one bit, again, I don't know if you're going to have that issue. It might have just been my sprue. But that's what you should do to fix it. Overall, just a gorgeous freaking model. Let's look at the whole box now. Completed the Into the Fray box for the Guild with the Cavalier keyword, starring Louisa Fusi, Rocketeer 1 and Rocketeer 2. The hardest part of the build was the bandana flaps on the back of Luisa's head. Everything else is just more of an order of operations issue for me. That and the flight sticks just being really thin and delicate, and one of them breaking even. But if you're cautious, I think you should do fine. So enjoy your box. I have been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux. Goodbye.